It's Hive Live, a fun Friday. The new Hornets head coach is an NBA champion. How much does that matter for the Charlotte Hornets? Plus, they just held their best workout of the offseason. We'll talk about all of that today. David Walker joining us to do so on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where on Fridays we give you a live stream. Wherever you're watching on YouTube, it is live. It's not recorded. You get to see all of the mess ups, all of the problems that we have real time, which should be enough incentive for you to join to catch us messing up somehow. But David Walker never does so. He joins us every Friday. You can find him on Twitter at David B. Walker. I'm on Twitter at Walker Mail. Doug on Twitter at Doug Branson LOH. Also, make sure you like us on Facebook 1,000 times and you'll see Doug wear the grandmama costume. So lots to get to. We have a champion as a head coach right now. How about last night, Golden State getting the job done with Kenny Atkinson on the bench as an assistant coach right by Steve Kerr. He should be announced at, imagine that introductory press conference should be coming up at some point soon. David, how much does that matter, man? Like, we got an NBA champion as a head coach now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will give Steph a lot of the credit, but I think most of the rest of it goes to Kenny Atkinson for sure.
I think you're right.
I mean, I don't see how you can argue that. No, I think it's a big deal. I mean, championship pedigree means something in this league. And for him to sit on that bench in the locker room, and be with these guys and be able to preach the lessons that he learned and what they were able to do in a championship run, I think is big. I mean, he's obviously going into a new situation here. Much different, but I think it's just another feather in his cap. It's just something that looks makes his resume look even better when he comes in here and tries to talk to these guys and say, "Hey, this is how he did it. This is how Steph did it. This is how champions did it." So let's get to work.
I think that's one of the more intriguing things about Kenny Atkinson, because when you first think of him, you go back to the Brooklyn days where he was the head coach, and we've talked about that a lot. But that guy has been around a lot of really smart coaching within just a short amount of time.
Yeah.
He's got to experience Mike Budenholzer, who is also an NBA champion and was doing a lot of great things with the Atlanta Hawks. You also had some experience under Mike D'Antoni, who we thought might be a head coach with the Charlotte Hornets. Two guys right there. Gets head coaching experience, so he is the guy in charge, and then immediately goes to Ty Lue, one of the better X's and O's guys and even a player's coach that people consider in the NBA, and then wins a championship this year with Steve Kerr. So he's around a lot of fantastic stars. So Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, just this past season, and Golden State. And I go back to Andrew Wiggins' comment on the stage last night where it's Lisa Salters, who did an excellent job, by the way, asking a whole bunch of different players, right? Hey, what does this mean to you? Talking with Andrew Wiggins and saying, hey, Andrew, what did you learn about this whole championship run being alongside Steph? Draymond's like, man, it's hard. He's like, look, this thing starts in November, and it might be a cliche, but that's true. Like, everything matters at the beginning to help you get to this point. It's hard, and I'm happy I learned how to win. I wonder if that rubs off on the assistant coach like Kenny Atkinson to where maybe he can bring it over to the Charlotte Hornets. Doug, do you think this matters? And if so, how much does it matter?
It absolutely matters, not because of just the championship pedigree, but it's a recent championship. It's a team that is, very modern and different than the champion. Yeah, different than the championships that Mitch Kupchak has been a part of, different than the championships that Michael Jordan's been a part of. And so he'll have that unique perspective of a modern NBA championship, what it takes to get through this grueling tournament. And also, I think he got to help the Warriors bring some of these other players along because, yes, this was about Steph getting the finals MVP, but there were also critical pieces like Andrew Wiggins that they had to work in, the Jordan Poole who is developing nicely. And I don't know exactly what Kenny Atkinson's role is, but they have started to develop some pieces alongside the core unit of Steph, Clay, and Draymond. And so I think that's going to be a positive for Kenny Atkinson moving over, and he knows what superstars look like. He knows what superstars sound like. He knows how to deal with superstars. It's going to be a whole nother ball game with Kenny Atkinson at the helm.
Yeah, there's so many interesting pieces the more you read up on Atkinson and hear some of the voices that he's been around. I mean, Steve Kerr said he was, a real bridge between him and kind of the analytics world. So I think he brought that to the bench for the Warriors. But the other thing is, like, he's been around the Warriors culture. He basically built the Nets culture, that attracted
I'd love any
Kyrie.
culture, David. I would
Yes,
love any
exactly
culture.
my
Heat
point.
culture, Warriors culture, Nets culture, Hornets culture. That's what I'm really looking for.
We'd have to license out #Heat culture, I think. But he, he built that. He put in place a lot of what was attractive to KD and Kyrie. Obviously it didn't work out once they all got there in the same place, but he built that along with Sean Marks up there in Brooklyn. So like he's bringing a wealth of knowledge on how to go about doing your business of basketball. And I think that's a huge bonus and something, to your point, this franchise desperately needs. I mean, I don't think we've seen a whole lot of culture that you can bank on as much as they've tried, since they've been back here in Charlotte, just trying to get back to winning ways. But culture is not something you really associate with this team right now.
When we talk about player development too, sometimes I'm a little skeptical because I think the responsibility and the effort, the credit kind of gets stripped away from the player. And then we give all of the credit to a certain coach. I think that happens too much, even if they do have some responsibility themselves. Maybe this is a straw man argument, admittedly. But what I will say is when you look at this Golden State team, kind of a decent amount of talk this morning is, one, how much longer can Golden State do this? And when they ask that question, they look at a Jonathan Kuminga, they look at a Moses Moody, and James Wiseman not as much because he's been hurt so much, but they got some minutes from Moses Moody the series prior to the finals where he was fine as a rookie. I mean, didn't actively hurt them in meaningful minutes. Jonathan Kuminga showed you some really nice stuff, and that was kind of a guy that was more of a project, so to speak, coming out of the NBA draft. So two guys that, if Kenny Atkinson really is a big part of player development, you would think he has his hands over that. You go to the Clippers, and I kind of get reminded of the Terrence Mann performance that we saw from a young player, and that was with Kenny Atkinson on that staff. How much does he have his hands on this? Maybe none, right? Like, I don't know. I wasn't in those locker rooms. I wasn't in those practices. At the same time, there's at least some experience with younger role players in extremely meaningful time, and they delivered on a stage around superstars. And when they're trying to complete something worthwhile, like a conference finals appearance, which the Hornets have never experienced, like an NBA finals experience, like a championship, Atkinson is around that stuff. And so, look, man, who knows if this rubs off on the Charlotte Hornets? I can guarantee this, it's not going to hurt them. You can say, all right, well, it's not going to rub off on these players. It's not like they're going to play harder defense or anything. Okay, but it's not going to hurt them, right? Like, at least there is some evidence saying, look, guys, this is how Golden State did some stuff. Now we're going to tailor some of that to what we do well, but we're going to try to do some things.
Command
like
C, Command V, copy paste. I want him to completely copy, steal everything you can, take some papers on the way out the door from Steve Kerr, steal the playbook. I don't care. Do whatever it takes. Get a championship in Charlotte. Bottom line, I don't know how much this affects things, but it's better than the alternative, right? Kenny Atkinson walking in the room after having blown a 3-2 lead and lost a championship, coming in and trying to, establish that credibility with his staff and with his players. That'd have been somewhat more difficult than the case that he finds himself in now, a champion. All he has to do is walk in the room and go, "You got one of these, baby? You got one of these right here? If you don't talk to me. Listen to me. Don't talk to me. Listen, until you get one of these, don't talk to me. Listen to me."
Wow. Is that a Kenny Atkinson?
Make an appointment.
Is that an accent too? I felt like you 50% committed to a Kenny Atkinson accent, but then like kind of.
I don't know what his accent. Honestly, I've got to hear him talk. I don't know what his accent is. You like my? By the way, I've got a human-sized mug today. This is a gift, a Father's Day gift from my betrothed. Number one, Dad's got some pickies of the babe. A lot of people in chat asking how the baby's doing. The baby's doing great. She is really getting ready for the NBA offseason. She's playing with a list. She's got some blocks. She's got some books, but then she's got spreadsheets with free agents, with unrestricted free agents, restricted free agents, just doing baby stuff, just scouting, trying to figure out what the Hornets are going to do this offseason. Fun Friday. Let's go. Woo!
All that's great. I would like to see the mug. I tried texting you. I tried chatting you, but we have not been able to see you this entire first segment. Like, we don't even know if you exist or if you are a voice in our head.
I forgot to. Yeah, okay. Well, everybody else can, so
right.
that's okay.
I know.
There you go.
Yeah.
All
there
right,
you
here's
go.
the mug. Here's the mug for the host. Number one dad.
There you go.
Piggies of the babe.
That's sweet. That's real sweet. And it is regular size this time. So I'm glad to see that it wasn't Lego shaped, that you didn't take it from your baby's doll set. All right. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. We're going to get to some of those comments. I imagine Doug wants to scroll. He hasn't got his scroll fix in yet, so he'll scroll, get some comments, some questions maybe that you guys have contributed to the chat. But also Malaki Branham, MarJon Beauchamp, they both worked out for the Charlotte Hornets. A couple of other guys projected to go in the first round. We have some clips. We have some sound bites. Let's get to that in just a moment as well. But first, we have to talk about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. You can find all of the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's championship matchup that just completed last night. Golden State, Boston, the Warriors, of course, winning that championship. But you also have the Stanley Cup going on. Major League Baseball is in full effect. Of course, all the latest fighting news from MMA, UFC, boxing, all of that good stuff. BetOnline is your continued source for your sport wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Plenty more to come on this Hive Live Friday, Fun Friday edition, Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are listening to the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Thoughts on the news about Cody Zeller's injury?
That's a tough one, man. I mean, what the doing, dude?
He's just injured, man. It's okay.
It's
Look,
just, he's
injuries
just having to deal
happen.
with an injury.
He didn't want to get injured, okay, David? But
Sorry, guys. I just had someone jump out in front of my vehicle. That was understandable.
only on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Bad memories, David?
I think about that. I think about that little punk like every day when I'm out running. And
for the back, let's give people the backstory because a lot of people have jumped on. That was part of our probably second era of the podcast, or second or third era of the podcast. Yeah. It was David, Steve Bob, who we miss dearly. I gotta get in touch with that guy. Got to get Steve Bob back on the show. But he was doing the show from the car, and he did this often. And I told him it's dangerous to do a podcast from a car. It's just only late night hosts can get away with that. And he almost hit a group of teenagers. I mean, just people in their prime of their lives.
Punks.
You almost hit them with your car.
They ran into the street, man. They challenged it. They wanted to go head to head with a vehicle. I was going downhill.
I don't think they wanted
roughly
to.
30, 35 miles. Well, one kid wanted a piece, and I almost gave it to him.
I'm glad you did it.
Me too.
I like how so the classic David Walker bumps include sharts and also an F-bomb that has to get bleeped out. That's what we get from David Walker.
It's raw.
Yeah, that's what it is, man. David Walker. Bringing it to you on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Before we bring you a couple of those sound bites, I do have an important favor to ask you. We've put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like, what you don't like about Locked On Podcast. You can go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. We always appreciate your support. And speaking of that, all that support, all the comments, the questions, Doug, do you have anything to get to there in the live chat? Have you scrolled, or do you need to scroll right now?
Robert in the chat says, would drafting Williams, I'm going to assume that's Mark Williams, and trading for Mo Bamba work?
Ooh.
And what do you think it would take to get Mo Bamba from the Orlando Magic?
What's Mo Bamba's situation? Is he restricted?
I'll look it up.
Okay, I didn't know where that was going. Yeah, Bamba, I don't think it would take that much to get him now,
Yeah,
especially. Well, this is the guy. I think they're probably ready to move on.
I almost typed
from
into
him.
Google Mo Bamba's contract situation. I don't know why. I don't know why I had to like put situation in there. Just a really extra word for Google there. Anyway, go on.
Also, an extra way to just come in and decide to tell everybody that. No, I appreciate that. No,
Hey, I've got his contract info if you want it.
Sure. What's the contract?
Give it.
He's a restricted free agent.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay, yeah, he's a restricted free agent. Bottom line, I don't think it would take that much. I would like that idea as long as you didn't give up too much. Obviously, I don't know what that would look like. I mean, it's not
qualifying offer is going to be $10 million. $10.1 million.
Yeah. So look, Mo Bamba's been a favorite target for a long time now. But yeah, somebody like that. We had this conversation yesterday. Somebody like that to go along with a Mark Williams or a Jalen Duren if the dream scenario takes place. Yeah, I think that's probably the type of plan that you'd want to carry out if you're the Hornets.
And Dallas is out of the way now. Dallas got their center. They got Christian Wood for a 26 pick and some garbage. They're going to end up paying him a lot of money to extend him. So I don't know.
Hollinger did a breakdown of all the centers on the potential market this morning, and he put Mamba as maybe a mid-level or a tax mid-level exception because of the crowded front court there in Orlando. So I don't know that it would be 10 million, but who knows? I mean, it sounds like they've kind of fallen out of favor with him with the rest of those young guys down there. So.
Well, especially if they go after Chet Holmgren too. That's not where mock drafts are. They're kind of thinking it's going to be Jabari Smith, although David, I know you read the KOC draft that was just released today, the most recent one, and I think he reported that Orlando is at least taking phone calls on that number one overall.
It seems like they could get a little froggy at number one.
Getting froggy.
What I mean?
It's like Mitch Kupchak. We'll see if that takes place. But if they go after Holmgren, that's a lot of size. That's a lot of length. They can certainly get rid of some of that with Mo Bamba. Hornets could use that. What else you got, Doug?
Well, I just wanted to mention too, the thing that could drive some of these prices down is there actually this particular offseason will be plenty of options for sort of basement or bargain basement bigs. Essentially, you got Mitchell Robinson's going to be out there, Hartenstein, Drummond,
Nerlens Noel is being shopped reportedly earlier today. I saw that. So.
Who?
Nerlens Noel.
Noel, yeah. McGee, Whiteside. Montrezl Harrell if he beats the rap.
Looney. Portis.
I said Looney. You're not listening.
Nurk. But, yeah, they're going to have some options.
Are we just naming centers now? Are we just naming all the centers?
How many have we named? That was at least 27 names.
Mm-hmm. So, Mitch Kupchak, do something, right? You got to do something.
Thank you.
That's the thing, right? Like, it feels like if they don't do something, it just feels like there's opportunities to add someone of value. Like you get on these lists and it's not anybody that you want starting for. It's not anybody that's going to carry you through the playoffs. But my God, it would have been nice to have some of these names last year. You know what I mean? Like some either veteran or young up and coming guy to add. I mean, at this point, I assume they're moving on from Mason Plumlee, but I don't know. I mean, they like to hang on to people.
Yeah. Who knows? I have zero clue what they're going to do. Anything else, Doug, before we get to the sound bites?
I'm scrolling. Tyler wants to know about a Hayward trade for Gobert. He also wants a Stangen. If they were able to trade Hayward for Gobert, I'll tell you one thing right now. That would be 100% certified. Stangen.
All right.
I love that
Stangen. Yeah. It would help him. There's no doubt it would help the Charlotte Hornets. I don't know if they could do that. Utah
Gobert wins you 50 games. Gobert wins you 50 games.
And you like 50, right?
Whatever happens in the playoffs happens in the playoffs. Gobert gets you 50 games.
And you want 50 wins this year, right?
Yeah, 50. Okay. Yeah, 50 winning games. Yes, that's what I would like.
All right.
I've already sent a letter to Kenny.
We'll see if some of these rookies could help out right now, or maybe just help them win 50 games in the future. They had a really nice workout today. It's by far the best top to bottom that we've seen as far as the workouts go this offseason. They'd worked out a lot of guys that were kind of in between that 20 to 45 range. Mm-hmm. But now you saw, I think in this one, Malaki Branham from Ohio State, who I really like this year, MarJon Beauchamp from G League Ignite, Kendall Brown from Baylor, Bryce McGowan's. All of those guys are first-round projections, and then Isaiah Whaley, Trevion Williams are the other two. But 4 guys that are projected to go in the first round, very interesting. Malaki Branham, he's the guy projected to go higher than all of those players that we just talked about. I asked him earlier about what kind of feedback he had received from some of these teams that he's worked out for. Here he is talking about the process and some of that advice. Yeah, congratulations, man. I know this is a fun process for you. So when you work out for the Hornets, you're working out for some different teams. What's some of the feedback that you've received as to, how you kind of play along in this process and where you might project to go?
Yeah, the process has been good. The teams are kind of saying, I'm a two guard. I'm gonna play off the ball. If they need me, I can shoot the ball pretty good. And the range is, they just said I'm, in the lottery, a little bit outside. Some people say I'm in the lottery. Some people say I'm outside, a little bit outside the lottery. So,
So here he is, expected to go in the lottery or just a little outside of it. Like, he's kind of had this wide range of where he's going to go, but he's been rising up draft boards. I'll tell you guys this, like, he's my favorite prospect of anybody in the draft that's not a center. And just, not including Jabari Smith, not including the guys that clearly aren't going to be there for the Hornets. Malaki Branham is that guy. In fact, when James Plowright of Sports Illustrated kind of took the opinions of a lot of Hornets Twitter saying, hey, rank your prospects 1 through 12, and he gave us a list of guys that have been mocked to the Hornets or at least are within that area, I went Jalen Duren number 1. I went Mark Williams 2, strictly because the Hornets have to take care of that center. As soon as they take one of them, and then the other guy kind of goes out the window for me, I'm moving on to a wing or a forward. But once that happens, once they take that center, Malaki Branham's that guy for me. I just think offensively, he's extremely gifted. I think as a young player, right? This guy was a freshman with the Buckeyes last year. He's already incredibly crafty. He shot 40% from 3. He can handle, and I think that's excellent to have a secondary ball handler alongside LaMelo Ball to be able to create his own shot. He can get into the paint. The only thing I'm a little worried about is the shot is kind of more pushed out than it is extended up. So I wonder if that's going to translate as much, but the numbers say it does. I love Malaki Branham. Would love to have him and a Jalen Duren or Mark Williams. I think that's about the best case scenario. Looks like he's going to do that. And he talked about teams saying, yeah, we expect you to play that 2-guard spot. So Malaki Branham, any thoughts from you guys? David, you want to start there, at least giving some LaMelo help in the backcourt this year?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like those are the 2 slots that they're going to go for. But the thing with me is, like, there's so much chatter about them trying to move off, especially that 15 pick. And I guess it doesn't really matter. It's 13 and 15. But if they don't come out of this draft with a center, I mean, there's going to be major implosion, I think, across the board. But it feels like that would be a perfect scenario, right? If you can get a wing and a center in there, fill those needs. And I think they're going to be there. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like, with all the talk about them trading, like, how much does that drive the or how much does that make them look desperate? How much are teams going to try and take advantage of that? I don't know. But I think you're right. I mean, if they can somehow get one of those 2 big guys and the wing of their choice almost, that's going to be a pretty good night for them.
What I like about Branham is that the efficient scoring is 3 levels. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to depend completely on a shot, which a shot was great, 41.6% from 3. But he was 49% overall. I mean, he could score at the rim, he could score in the mid-range, and he could shoot the basketball from the outside. So I like that, as opposed to a guy that worries me right now, AJ Griffin, who seems to be kind of falling into that zone. So, if that were the choice, if for some reason Duren and Mark Williams are both off the board, and now the choice becomes more difficult if Agbaji is also off the board too, because I think Agbaji is a player that comes in and actually addresses an immediate need. Branham is somebody that would be nice to keep in the system for when, maybe if you trade Terry Rozier away and you need a little bit of extra scoring punch. But, it's not something they absolutely need right now from Branham, but they could use, I think, Agbaji if the sort of IQ and will to play defense come along with the tools that he has, the physical tools for Agbaji. I feel like that's probably a better match for what the Hornets need.
Yeah, I think Branham just has a lot more star power. I don't think Agbaji's ever going to be a star. I think you have a shot with Malaki Branham. And to have that within this Hornets system, I just think, especially you bring up A.J. Griffin, who Kevin O'Connor in the mock draft he released for the Ringer today, he had A.J. Griffin being that 13th pick. I mean, he continues to ever so slightly kind of slide back towards that Hornets range. And AJ Griffin is somebody that had that injury history, took a little while at the beginning of the season to start clicking, but once he did, he exploded. Amazing shooter based off of the numbers, what we saw. The coach's son, right? Adrian Griffin, who somebody I think should get a head coaching shot in the NBA. He's with the Toronto Raptors right now. A pretty good athlete. And the thing that kind of has him sliding back are the injury concerns and the awful defense this year, but clearly offensively a pretty special player. I just think when you compare a Branham and an AJ Griffin, you put them at the top of the key, you give them the basketball, you say, okay, I need a bucket, go get one for me. I just believe more in Malachi's ability to do that, especially if the defense is suspect from AJ Griffin, where he can make up some real ground on Malaki. Then and he can't. He could, but he didn't, right? Like, that's where I'm going with Branham here. But, David, what would you think about A.J. Griffin maybe being that 13th pick?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like if he's there at 13, you almost have to take him. That has been a disaster for the Hornets in years past. When they've had guys fall, it has almost never worked out. And in Kevin O'Connor's draft, he did have him taken Griffin and Williams. So that would be two Duke guys going to the Hornets. Something thought impossible by some of the folks out there on the internet. But I mean, that's really the interesting guy. I mean, him falling is kind of amazing to me, just because of the season he had at Duke, the success, the shooting, right, in particular. And it's hard to believe that just the injury factor is what's driving him down a lot. I mean, because you got to think he could be a good defender. I mean, gosh, he's got the NBA body, right? He looks like he could be out there playing in the finals right now. But it's just such a risk. But then you have, if you have 13 and 15, you can almost, afford to take a swing, especially if Mark Williams is still out there, right?
Yeah, and it's not, Griffin would be a good pick. I'd be happy with that, right? Like, it's not like you can be mad because the ability is clearly there. He did not turn the ball over all that much at all with Duke. I think he wasn't asked to handle the ball a ton because they had Jeremy Roach, because they had Trevor Keels in the backcourt. They had Paolo Banchero, who's excellent with the basketball in his hands. And so maybe that hid some of that ball handling ability that I wanted to see more of, because he had his flashes. Yeah. But I just, again, it's just a hard player for me to kind of get a grip on there. And if he slides to the Hornets, it'd be a good pick. I'd be happy with it. So. Still, just some moments where I'm like, okay, a little scary.
I mean, he was the best player on the floor at times in some of those Duke games, and that's a floor with Paolo Banchero out there on it. So he was much more aggressive in some of those games that I watched. But yeah, I mean, that would be an intriguing pick, right? It would be filling a need in both areas, especially if they could back it up with a Williams pick. I mean, I don't know how y'all feel about it. The Williams thing, it is literally like every draft he is slotted to the Hornets at this point. I mean, everyone I'm seeing, it feels like a sure thing, which is never a sure thing. But it's certainly, he's the perfect fit with everyone knowing the big hole they have there.
Yeah, Doug. I mean, it seems like 70% of the mock drafts have Mark Williams, and then the other 30 have Jalen Duren. Like the 30% that have him falling, it's the Hornets have selected him if Mark Williams had been taken before, or, even if he's still available in some of those cases, right? Which it's a good thing, but, we'll see with some of these mock drafts. Should we go to the Beauchamp sound, or should we stay away from that?
Yeah. I mean, let's let the people hear the sound. I mean, you went and did all the work, Walker.
I did. I didn't know if we could do it. I didn't know if we had the capability.
Okay. We can do it. I'm going to have to quickly fix it as it comes on the board, but we can do it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to it. I asked MarJon Beauchamp, who is a G League Ignite team member from this past season. I asked him a couple of questions, and the first one I asked was if he felt like he had a level up on the competition strictly coming from college, because he got to play against professionals. And he also had an interesting journey here to be a projected first-round pick. Here he is answering a couple of those questions.
Yeah, I think playing against like pros this year in the NBA G League Ignite, I do have that advantage. Learning the defense terminology of the NBA, learning that physicality from the other players that, like, some players were in the NBA. Like I got to play against Mario Chalmers, Lance Stevenson, and players Brandon Knight like that. So, I think I do have an advantage, and I feel like I know the pace of the game now, and I'm ready.
Yeah, and man, your journey's an impressive one. Multiple high schools, community college, G League. Now to the point where you're projected first-round pick. How hard was your journey, man, and how much doubt did you allow to creep in before you ultimately pulled through to become a projected first-round pick?
Yeah, through my journey, there was a lot of up and downs and a lot of adversity I had to go through. But I feel like everything I've been through, like, prepared me for this moment. And, it made me mentally strong. It made me, I got faith in God now, and I let God lead everything, because I feel like He has a big plan for me, and He didn't take me this far to take me this far, So, yeah, I feel excited, and I'm glad I'm in this position, and I knew I would be in this position one day, but I just didn't know when,
Yeah, and last one for me, just how do you think you can help an NBA team right away, as soon as you get drafted?
Yeah, I think I can help an NBA team by, bringing my energy, my defense versatility, using my length, guarding like the best players, and just playing my game, the fast break and hitting corner shots. I've been working on my shot, and I know I can shoot the ball. So just bringing that energy, and I feel like I'm a 2-and-D player, 3-and-D player.
Yeah, MarJon Beauchamp. What do you think, Doug?
That.
Yeah, no, for sure.
2-and-D, yeah.
Two-way player, 3-and-D. Yeah. At least he corrected it.
A lot of 2-and-D players in the 90s, for sure. Could have made a great living being a 2-and-D player in 1992. I like MarJon Beauchamp. I love the fact that he's coming from G League Ignite. He's working his way up through the system, and it kind of makes me wish that the Hornets had the 20th pick or weren't shopping that 15th pick probably for a veteran. But if they could find a way to move back into that soft 20 range, I would not mind them taking MarJon Beauchamp at all, because he has the athleticism, the wingspan, and the want to, and the will, and the skill to defend, as he said, the best players in the league. I mean, it's what they've been missing. It's what we kind of thought Miles Bridges was going to turn into, and may still yet. It's the one thing I think he can add to his game that would elevate him into all-star status is, Miles Bridges being able to lock down the best player on the best wing on the opposing team. And hopefully Miles does develop that in this next season. But having a guy like Beauchamp on the squad, I think he would immediately contribute.
It feels like they're really bringing in a lot of guys. I mean, as you mentioned, that could potentially go somewhere in the first round. So, if stuff goes crazy on draft night, if Duren and Mark Williams are both off the board, or something happens, or trades, they really feel like they're taking a good look at a lot of possible options, which I think you have to like, especially since there was no coach. There hasn't been a coach in place. I guess they're doing their homework so that they can, fill everyone in. But yeah, I mean, a lot of good options too. I mean, both of these guys, you feel like they would help.
And it would be, I think, perfect next to LaMelo Ball. I mean, it takes a lot of the pressure off of him to have to, have those defensive assignments. It'd be perfect. Whether he's playing, I mean, I think he's probably he's slotted at 2, but could probably play a little bit of 3 as well.
Yeah, the only thing is you want him to be able to shoot better for LaMelo's kickouts, right? But other than that, the defensive game certainly is going to help. He's physical, man. And you mentioned that wingspan, Doug. I talked about it with Jalen Williams when we selected him in the ultimate mock draft. He's 6'6", 7'2.5" wingspan. So MarJon Beauchamp is 6'5" and has a 7'1" wingspan. And he's physical. And he's played against these professionals. What do we think about the names, though? Brandon Knight, Lance Stevenson, Mario Chalmers. Do we use that as cred to say he is ready for the time now? Or maybe if he brought those names up back in 5, 6, 7 years ago, or hey man, at least it's NBA.
I mean, but all those names, yeah. I mean, they're obviously, if you take the macro view, they don't have illustrious NBA careers, but at one point or another, all of those players were very specific key pieces for their particular team. So it's nice to have a player that doesn't come in with crazy unrealistic expectations of what they are.
No, it matters. It matters. It's just the names. I didn't expect. All right, Mario Chalmers, Brandon Knight, those plus Lance Stevenson. We know him well here in the city of Charlotte.
Yeah. You got to kind of know your audience a little bit. Beauchamp didn't really know his audience there. Didn't know not to bring up Lance Stevenson.
Yeah, he would have gone I played against the likes of a Lance Stevenson, Nick Batum, Derek Coleman. Got to play against.
I
see
myself
as
a Malik Monk, a PJ Hairston, Lance Stevenson,
Noah Vonleh,
love that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really helped me. Yeah, but what would help though? I like MarJon Beauchamp too. He'd be an interesting pick, but you're right, Doug. Probably more so that 20 range, and unless they trade back there, probably not going to be in play. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Let's give you some NBA Finals talk. Pretty much avoided it this entire time. You know, we had the local angle with Kenny Atkinson winning a championship. Let's give our Steph takes because he's a Charlotte kid, grew up here, went to Davidson. Let's talk about Steph Curry, our thoughts on him, and just generally the Golden State Warriors winning another title. Pretty ridiculous, the road that they've been on in order to complete 4 different championship runs. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
I'm a fantastic Googler. I'm bad at logging in. If they were to do sort of a scouting report of me and my ability to use the internet.
Todd.
Yeah.
Excellent Googler, not a very good guy that's logging in. Very good at interrupting the host anytime he's trying to go on a rant.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
It's a great one, man. I don't know if it's necessarily Frank Caliendo worthy, but I gave my best shot to imitate Mel Kiper. Golden State wins the championship. They beat the Boston Celtics, and really, it was the Celtics who got out to, I think, a 12-2 lead right from the beginning, and then Golden State ends up catching up. They also go on a 21-0 run. Steph Curry, sensational, wins his first NBA Finals MVP to quiet the haters and also to get a 4th championship. I mean, remarkable, man. And plus, it's really cool to see him be a guy that we can call our own. You know, went to Charlotte Christian, I believe is the high school, right?
Yep.
Charlotte Christian, goes to Davidson, has the incredible NCAA tournament run, just the incredible college run, but also, you know, going to the NCAA tournament and being able to have that kind of damage. I just kind of found myself reflecting back on draft night for him. Like, man, is he really going to have anywhere close to the impact that he did at Davidson? He's just so small. He's so scrawny. Can he deal with that physicality? Like everything people were asking back in 2008 when he was drafted. And now we're talking about that guy possibly being a top 10 player of all time. That is a really, really cool run.
I don't know if it's possibly anymore. I feel like last night did a lot to submit that.
That guy's resume is insane.
Yeah, I mean the clip that stuck with me is I don't know at what point during the game, but maybe it was pregame that they cut to a clip of Steph in his rookie season. Someone was doing an interview with him in the locker room in those old the old Warriors uniforms that Baron Davis rocked. And it just made me think about like LaMelo Ball. It made me think about, are we witnessing a very similar thing? That's something that we'll look back on some of his interviews that he's done over the fun interview that he did with Ashley Shahamady where he credited water for his for H2O for his stellar play. So are we witnessing similar things right now where we'll look back on it after several championships and go, wow, we kind of knew what we had, but we didn't even know what we had.
Yeah, I mean, Steph has obviously reached the point now where it's just it's beyond liking or not liking. He's just established a level of greatness that is the standard right now, and it's amazing because look at all the players that are in his era, that he's really either right there with or outperforming. I mean, you're talking about LeBron James, Kevin Durant, these guys that. His dynasty, the Warriors dynasty they've put together has been just as dominant as any we can remember, in recent years or that we've seen in NBA history. I mean, they're right up there, those three. And what he's done as being, like you said, being his stature, right? Being that little guy and still being able to do it. Sure, he's gotten stronger and stuff, but the way he's able to move, keep moving, get his shot off, and some of the fakes he threw last night, it's just like when those guys go flying by, it's a layup. It's a 3-point layup. And especially when they're playing at home, those are worth more than 3 points because it just gets that crowd going. And last night, it got his team going. It got the bench going. I mean, the Celtics threw everything they could in that first quarter. And you look up and they were up by like 2 points. And then all of a sudden they were down, 19? So, I mean, just an amazing
boring finals. I'm going to say it. This was a boring finals. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
Well, you just didn't have very close. You didn't have any, close margin
I blame
of victory.
The Celtics.
And
I think
that's
we blame
I blame Jason
Yeah.
Tatum. I was
Yes.
really looking
Well,
forward to
we
seeing
can get
Jason
to that
Tatum
for
in a
sure.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing Tatum in a finals. I felt like he had a little bit of like maybe some MJ ascension. Not. I mean, he wasn't. I didn't. Oh, okay, calm down.
David is
I'm just
not
saying he
here
had
for any mention of that name.
Fine, Kobe. That's his idol. So maybe it's some Kobe. I'm saying it could have been the start of something. Instead, it feels, and maybe it still is. Maybe, but it's just like
He's only
typically these stories
24
don't start with a finals loss. It's like you get to the conference finals and you lose several times, then you finally ascend up to the finals and win it. But it doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen. But hopefully, I mean, I would like to see, if it's not going to be the Hornets, I'd like to continue to see stars in the Eastern Conference like Jason Tatum, get back to the finals. So hopefully they can do that and not turn the ball over 100 times.
Oh my God. Well, that's the thing. I mean, maybe he's hurt, maybe he's dinged up, maybe he's tired, but everybody's tired at this point in time. Everybody who makes it to the finals is exhausted. And Tatum I was really disappointed. I mean, to be honest, because it wasn't just the fact that he wasn't attacking, he was actively deferring and not taking shots, playing hot potato way too much. And there was multiple times in game 5 and game 6 where he said, well, if this is going to happen, he's the guy that's got to do it. And he's got to make a charge for the team. And for him to not even take shots, for long stretches of the time.
Jaylen Brown was that guy.
Jaylen Brown was that guy for them.
And Al Horford for one game, the moment didn't feel too big for Al Horford for one game. And then Al Horford returned to being Al Horford. But Jaylen Brown seemed to be the aggressor. But then it seemed like the Warriors defense was ready for that. Anyway, I just think it was a boring finals. I'd like my money back, please.
Man, the matchup was great coming in, though. I absolutely loved the matchup heading into it, and we just didn't get a ton of close games. That's what it was. We didn't get it's a 5-point game with 1 minute left to go. Is Jason Tatum going to show up? Is Steph Curry going to show up? And I think that's why you don't have that game to point to. Steph Curry's performance last night was incredible, though.
Yeah.
And just talking about Steph winning this Finals MVP, I like that there was no doubt. I'm glad that we didn't have. In a weird way to say it, I'm glad that it wasn't close to the point where, maybe you could give it to Klay Thompson.
Wiggins was the threat.
I was waiting for some nerd to give it to a vote for Wiggins.
We tried to do that with Wiggins for like a second, and it was, you talk about straw man arguments like I mentioned at the beginning. There was just no way that Wiggins should have gotten it ever over Steph Curry. And then last night, he just ended any kind of debate that you could have, fabricated anyway. Even that game 5 where he didn't hit a 3-pointer and clearly didn't have a good game. I'm not going to argue that. But what's funny is, he goes 0 for 9 from 3-point range. Okay. That makes it bad enough. But he was still 50% from 2-point range. It's funny, like even his bad game, you can find shot making at different spots of the floor to still help them keep them afloat. It's just when you go talk about top 10 players, I'm not even 30 yet, right? So maybe different generations hit. But when I talk about the guys that I've seen from the beginning to the end of their career put together some kind of top 10 resume, I go to LeBron. I barely caught Kobe. I don't remember necessarily the first couple of All-Star appearances from Kobe. It's just not me being totally immersed in the game. But I have LeBron, and now I have Steph Curry talking about top 10 players. And anybody that's in my generation, to see those two, it's goosebumpy. It's special. And for him to have that resume, 4 championships, 2 MVPs, changing the way the game was played, best shooter of all time, now Finals MVP, winning one in a different era with different players, not having Kevin Durant. Just like I get to say 30 years from now, I got to watch Steph put together a top 10 career from the beginning to the end, and I also got to see it in my own backyard. And that's some cool stuff. That's why you love the game.
I just love that after the game, after this amazing run to the finals, and going through all the adversity that they've been through over the past couple of years, he still has enough self-awareness to clown on Kendrick Perkins in the post-game press conference with the goose egg that Kendrick Perkins put up on First Take or whatever show. And Walker disappeared. Oh, there he comes. He's back. But yeah, I mean,
I like that it froze on that. That was fantastic.
That was great. But good for Steph. Again, I don't think it was a fun finals, but yeah, happy.
The moments were fun, right? I mean, the moments in the third quarter last night, Game 4 in Boston. I mean, I think that was a historic finals performance.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe his best game ever.
And the refs ruined it for me. The flopping ruined it for me. Like, I mean, that's the only thing. I wish we could get Tatum somewhere where they're not just like falling all over, like synchronized flopping all over. Let's get Tatum to the Heat. I'd love to see Tatum on the Heat.
Oh,
I'd love to see Steph. Hey, Steph's got his 4 championships now. I think it's time to do the old, make his way over to Charlotte,
go back home. Yeah,
sunset
classic.
tour. You know what I'm saying?
That conversation is going to be had in this city today. I'm sure it's happened already. It is going to continue.
Dell,
to be
where
had.
you at? I saw you with the cigar. Let's whisper in the ear. Let's go.
Awesome.
And
picture.
the question is, like, how much of his game can just keep on going and going and going? I mean, I think he could probably be able to shoot
the shooting
forever.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the movement and stuff. If he can protect himself, I mean, I don't
know.
know.
Dell can still shoot.
Well, I remember Reggie Miller talking about this, where Reggie. It's similar because Reggie is. I can't even hear anything. That's the problem with this. I can't. I know Doug is gone. I imagine with the Curry conversation, what it could have led to, especially with a couple people being on the court. Doug is red. He really liked that joke.
That's a good. That got me.
My point being the longevity of Steph Curry, like Reggie Miller is running off screens.
Right.
He's trying to do that as he gets older, and Steph Curry continues to have to run off screens. And then you see him, just be a handles god and still be so quick at that age. That's going to go away at some point. But still, like, can you design plays for him to just, hey, get this open 3, and you can still average, okay, we'll go down to 20 points a game, 17, 15, 10. And we all mentioned the gravity being such a big part of his game. The gravity is going to be there for a while, you think. Yeah, who knows how long this thing can go.
Yeah.
Don't make me go back into these comments. These comments are wild right now. Let's
read. Can we read some? Like, are they safe?
Well, no, I think it's safe. It's just toxic, right? It's getting very toxic in the chat right now. Everyone calm down.
They clowning us or the players or the takes
or nothing to do with us.
Okay. Oh, the Curry stuff.
Someone mentioned nice hat. Thank you. Said all wool Bill. I like that occasionally. The all wool Bill. And then this has got some like glossy stuff going on here. Mm-hmm. I enjoy that. Some good head candy. Hey, speaking of head candy, this is not great head candy, but the draft hats are out. I can put it up on the board. Let me get David's camera on here and booyah. So there it is, the new draft cap.
Oh boy.
What are we doing?
That's it, man.
What are we doing? So for the people that aren't listening, if you want to look it up, you can, but it's got the sort of main Charlotte Hornets logo on the right half of the front of the cap. And on the left half of the front of the cap, it has the letter CHA,
which is
like
already people hate it.
Which already people hate. I think we got to come to we've got to be okay with it, guys. I mean, the alternative is easily repurposed. You know,
already
what I mean?
Already there. Yeah.
So Shaw is fine. Okay, it's fine.
All right, so deal with that. But then the NBA logo in purple stitched over the letters.
It almost looked like USA, right? Like, because you're connecting the open space of the sea, and it looks weird.
So it obscures. Almost. That's my problem.
Yeah.
The NBA logo it's so.
I don't know what the thinking was there. I mean,
I have no idea. Graphic design is my passion, is what I'm thinking of. The meme of the frog image, and it says graphic design is my passion. That's what I'm thinking here. This just got too wild. It probably went through so many revisions. It probably started out as something that made sense, but just to finish out I don't think there's any side patch. Side patch. There's a back. There's a back NBA patch. The under brim is just a boring old gray. It's a cream color. I like the cream color hats, and the bill is is sort of the more neon-y main teal, which I like. I like the colors. I just the two halves of the hat. It looks like the hat's looking at me.
I see that, or winking almost. taunting,
Yeah,
if you will.
or has an eye, like one eye is an eye patch.
And that's what I thought too. Like you just put something over. We can't even tell what that logo is behind the actual logo.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of just hats in general going off center like this. It's got to be done just right. This just looks like two selections that were made and stamped on there. I mean, every team in the league is going to have one of these atrocities, so it's not just.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like, when you get like an Amazon warehouse deal and the box gets to your house and it's clear that this box has been used for like 9 other deliveries, right? Yeah. And it's just patch over patch over patch. That's what this reminds me of. Just somebody that was like, slap a Hornets logo on it. This is awful. There was a hat, and I'd have to look up which year. I did not buy this hat. I typically do get all of the draft hats unless they are just atrocities like this one. The only other one that I remember that I avoided was there was one several years ago. I actually think it was the year that they traded the pick to the Kings. They had like a late first rounder in the 20s that they traded that ended up being Malaki Richardson. And that hat was like scaly and then kind of not furry, but a weird texture for the bill. It went like way, in terms of the textures of the hat, went way off the reservation. This one at least stayed somewhat normal in hat feel.
Right.
But this is not a fire fitted.
No, this is very, very bad. What'd you think of the finals championship hats, Doug? I didn't think they were too bad.
You know what? You and I are so aligned on these things because you and I both thought that the Western Conference Finals hats look like truck stop hats. I think look like something you get at a Buc-ee's in Texas.
Right.
But I thought the finals hat sort of bridged the gap between cool NBA nostalgia and not looking like a weird truck stop hat. I thought it actually was nice. I like how the logo, the Golden State Warriors logo, was like offset a little bit from the base text. I just thought it was a good design. I would wear that hat if I were a fan of the Warriors.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what took them so long to come back to the finals logo. The script writing of the finals. It's great. For a while they just, I don't know, went away from it, didn't like it. So I thought it was a good hat.
Yeah, cursive forever. Go back to the script. That finals logo is fantastic. All right, do you want to end with some comments? Did you have a comment yourself before we
Blake on the chat says, "Does a bad hat equal a bad draft?" Signs point to yes. I would say actually no.
Go back and look at the hat that LeBron wore. It was flattened out like someone had stepped on it and did delivery on the way from Amazon.
I'll have to look that up. But I was thinking about this from a Hornets perspective. Does a bad draft cap equal a bad Hornets draft? Which is tough to say. They've had a lot of bad ones, so it'd be tough to really associate hats with those because I typically like the draft hats. I will say that the best draft hat that I own, I've worn it many times on this show, was the hat that was used in the Kaminsky draft. So I don't think that really is correlated.
The last one you hated was the Malaki Richardson pick that was eventually traded for Marco Bellinelli.
Last one. I didn't love the last one either, to be perfectly honest. I didn't like it enough to buy it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they fix it. Like, we got
it seems like an easy job. I think they make it too complicated. I think they
that's
try.
That's a perfect example of overthinking.
Yeah. This is. I would give me the job. I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll slap a Stangen on there and call it a day
for everybody, for the Kings.
That's what they need to do. One draft, they need to take podcast catchphrases and throw them on there, obscure ones that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has that. We have about 17. I don't know if there's any other podcast mottos out there, but we have them, and we appreciate you for.
Can we talk about one more thing? Because I did go to all the trouble to actually pull this. So if you didn't catch yesterday's show, we did an ad for a company called Arcade 1-Up, and they have a NBA Jam machine. And
this is what we're waiting for.
Yeah, Walker tried to say "boom shakalaka," and instead this happened.
Boom shalaka. I messed up. Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka. But I came back with a fury on that second pronunciation. I got the second one right. Doug loves it. Doug
boom
is really So this is boom shakalaka. Doug is the only time that one of your sound bites make the bumps is when you mess up something like that's. And then so when
Sure.
Doug is working on, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if you mess up something or if you have some kind of problem that took place, that's going to be
I
the
messed
bump.
up.
And then I'm trying to go to the end of the show and he said, wait, hold on. We need to put this. And look, he's red faced.
I messed
I did
up.
mess up though, pretty bad. I couldn't get a boom Can I go to the end of the show? Can I end this thing?
Yes, please.
Okay. You're
I
gonna play
messed
it. I know
up.
You're gonna play it over there. Yep, there you go. All right, that's it. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for listening to us, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Check us out on YouTube. You get the deal, making us your first listen. Make sure you make Locked On NBA Big Board your second listen. Raphael Barlow, Leaf to Win, Richard Stamen, also a part of that show. Getting you ready for the draft. It's next week. We'll have plenty of coverage for you here as well on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Shout out to all the dads.